Hello and welcome to Eternal Durdles. I'm your host, Zach Clark, and with me as always, Phil Bleckman. Phil, how's it going, man?
It's going well, and with me as always, Vito Thorn of the Dusk Rose. How's it going?
I've got Lord Soth over here behind me.
Yeah, okay. Can you tell me about this new spoiler that looks like a Dungeons and Dragons magazine cover, and why? What exactly is that frame that they went with? What is that?
So yeah, okay. So what's this? Den of the Bugbear? Den of the Bugbears?
Yeah. So there was I want to say it was like earlier today that we are recording. We're recording on Tuesday night, and it was spoiled, I guess, earlier today, yesterday.
Yeah, I think it was spoiled this morning.
Spoiled this morning, and It's a new card from the Dungeons and Dragons set, but it's what I guess is the showcase frame, but maybe it's a specialty frame. I'm not sure.
I mean, I love everything about this. I don't know what kind of frame it is, but it seems like I've said to you before. It seems like they're just making design choices that are like, Zach Clark, empty your wallet. Like, I love this. I think it's great. Like, it's just super weird. Like, this is so the frame is the old modules, like the boxes that these things used to come in. So this is either the front of basically a magazine that would be like there we go. Got one right here. It's very much like the front of one of these, but obviously more art. This is a first edition thing, or this is like a second edition thing.
Dude, Dungeons and Dragons they use the papyrus font.
Oh yeah, gross, right?
Wow. You know the new business when they use the papyrus font.
Yeah, dude, they're on it. So this is basically the box set or the module that you would get with this. This is probably, I don't know off the top of my head if this is actually a Dungeons and Dragons module. It looks like one. And the art is definitely like of that style, but like, I don't know, Jeff Easley's probably a current artist that came up with a very old school looking D&D art style there. I love it. It's very Larry Elmore. Like I loved Larry Elmore. Like that's the guy who did like all of the cheesecake art from like second edition. This is probably Larry Elmore behind me. I'm not positive, but like he did a lot of the second edition art, and he's a super awesome, just like very iconic artist. Anyhow, so let's read off the card. It's a land, and it says if you control 2 or more other lands, Den of the Bugbear enters the battlefield tapped. Tap it to add 1 red mana, then you can pay 3 in a red. Until in turn, Den of the Bugbear becomes a 3/2 goblin creature whenever this creature attacks, create a 1/1 goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking. It's still land.
So they just put Goblin Rabble Master on a land.
This is a man land. So here's the interesting thing, Phil. Like, you know, we talk in our chat, like a lot of times we'll talk about wombo combos and stuff like that, and you'll try and get me off of them. You succeed most times. You know, when we're talking about a tavern swindler or tavern guy or whatever, and
I will preface that I'm not trying. I never block.
Yeah, no, you're just giving me good advice.
I just say, anytime we have like we're not on board with the same combo, it's usually because it's a 2-card combo that doesn't actually do anything and needs a 3rd card payoff. Yeah. But we never talk about what that 3rd card is, because we're like, oh yeah, we'll just have it. Well, and that's very rare.
Here's the thing. Here's a 3rd card. You want to get infinite mana? You can pump it into this guy right here, and it's a land. So you're probably gonna, it's a uninteractable for the most part.
Wait, what do you mean? Wait. You have infinite mana. It's not like you can activate. Like turn this on.
Oh, you can.
Wait, okay, so you can turn it into infinite Rabble Masters, and then it'll make infinite tokens?
Yeah, it'll see each different time that you've done this, and it will have that ability each time.
Okay,
and then you attack infinite.
Now I get it. That's good. See, Zach, that is good deck building.
Yeah. So like, this is a card you would probably want to play in there anyhow. It's not even legendary. It's not even legendary land. So like, you can put 4 of these into the deck.
The other thing too is that this is oddly a land that incentivizes you to put it into a faster deck, because it comes into play untapped if it's your first or second land.
Yeah.
And if it's your 3rd land, it comes into play tapped.
Weird that it's like if it's your 3rd land, it comes into play tapped, because that's not how the Chrome Quicksilver Chrome or what, you know what I'm talking about, Dark Slick Shores, those things.
Yeah.
Black Cleave Cliffs. they're third land, but if it's a fourth land, it comes into play tapped, right?
I think they're mixing things up in that it can be a fast land, but it's a fast land for only one color.
Mm-hmm.
So in that regard, it's switching things up a bit.
Sure.
I think it's also it makes it so that in the late game, your land can't be a blocker. So if it comes into play tapped, you can't animate it to block. That was the only thing that I could think of as to why they would make it. They would come into play tapped later on.
Yeah, I mean, minus the fact that like just slotting this into every red deck, like as a no-brainer.
Oh yeah, for
sure. Like if you want a mountain, or you could play this instead in standard. Like
this feels like a very good land to just add into your very low to the ground mono red deck, and then if you ever flood, you have a sink.
I just want to say something real fast too. So if we look at this card, the art on the card, over here. Yeah. So you get it's a dungeon module R12. I forget what R12 means, but that's like probably like the 12th one of this particular type that came out. Den of the Bugbear, sure. An adventure for character levels 17 through 20. Dude, bugbears are not that high level of a creature to fight in D&D. So this module must have been out of fucking control.
Yeah.
Bugbears are basically big goblins.
Do you think that they're going to do that? When I saw the 17 through 20 thing, I was like, is this going to be like a level up mechanic?
Nah, I don't. I mean, I don't think it has anything to do. It's just I unfortunately don't have any modules like that because I never buy modules because I'm not that kind of dungeon master.
Do you think that part of the card is just part of the frame?
I mean that's a buying thing. Like if you're the dungeon master, for all you people who are not grognors, dungeon master is the guy who runs the game. If you're a dungeon master and you're buying a module to play with your crew, you can look at this and be like, oh, my crew's like level 17 to 20, and that will work for them. Like it won't be too hard for them to play, but it'll give them a challenge. You don't want to buy like a level 14 thing for your level 17 people because then it's just too easy. They won't have a very big challenge.
What are the odds that in the Dungeons and Dragons set, there is a mechanic that allows you to become the dungeon master?
I would love it.
And you get to dictate some term of the game.
I would love it, but I don't. I mean, I honestly, like, they should do something. They should nod to the dungeon master somehow, and they've done that in the secret layers that are coming out. They nodded to the OG like D&D game or D&D cartoon, and the dungeon master is in one of those things. Also, Bollywogs, great. I love that too. That's like if you're a D&D cartoon guy, comment below. Like that's you already know what I'm talking about. But I think that there's just so much that they can do with this set to like nod to D&D. It just feels like the Dungeon Master thing is not part of Magic the Gathering in any way, shape, or form. It's the one thing, in truth, it's the one thing that separates Dungeons and Dragons and Magic is that like you don't need someone to run it for you.
So the Dungeon Master is somebody who runs a D&D game but isn't part of it, right?
Yeah, you're the guy telling. So you're the guy telling the story, doing all the rules. You play all the monsters. When people, it's all the NPCs. You're everybody but the player characters, right?
Yeah,
like. Okay. If you're a dwarf wizard and Nate is an elf cleric, right? I'm all of the things you guys run into in the dungeon. I have to play all of those things. So if you decide that you want to go to the den of the bugbear and you want to like parlay with the bugbear, I have to pretend to be a bugbear. That's the dungeon master.
In a way, Mark Rosewater is the dungeon master of Magic.
Truly, yes. I mean, he is all of the characters. Yes, for sure. So yeah, this is an interesting card. It has that ability to like go infinite. If you're going infinite, you can attack and get all these triggers, which is cool. That's a good question. What do you think the other cards in the cycle would do?
Well, I was going to ask. I mean, I could speculate as to what the other like mechanic creatures they would pull from that they would turn manlands into, but I was going to ask, is there other locations similar to the one that's on the red land that you could see them turning into the other ones?
I mean, okay. So the black one would probably be the Tomb of Horrors.
Tomb of Horrors, that like seems pretty easy to just make zombies out of, right?
Yeah, right.
The dead action.
It's a Tomb of Horrors is probably just Grave Titan.
Yeah.
Right? Like easy. Blue, I don't know. Green, man, I have no idea. Silvery Moon, something like that. Like this is a module. So like Tomb of Horrors is a module, a well-known module. And the problem with that is like most of the modules that I know in D&D are goblin or undead based. Because that's what you do. You go into D&D, you fight orcs, you fight goblins. You don't like go into D&D and fight the elves. You know, you're an elf generally. You know, like those are the good guys. You know, but that you could. Maybe it's Minzo Baranzan, you know, Tomb of the Underdark, you know.
I was gonna like. I'm trying to think like, is there in D&D? Is there anything? These modules of which you speak. Is there anything involving angels or sphinxes or hydras, which are the three big monsters they include for those colors in every set?
Yeah, no, I mean, not that I can think. Like, so you could do like planes of exist. There are other. There's like the astral plane and the prime material plane, which is the one we're all technically on. It's it's so hard for me to choose because if we're going with this, you know, the way this is built, it's going to be a particular module. Like Tomb of Horrors makes sense.
What do you think are the odds that we get a module for blue? Comes into play tapped when you have 2 or more lands, but you can animate it for blue, and then it just gains Sensei's Divining Tops text.
Ooh.
But you see it would balance out because if you flip the top and then you have 2 more lands, it's going to come into play tapped every time, and then you can't spin the top. Can't flip it when it's tapped. Can't be tapped. You got to tap it.
All right, I'm looking up some old school D&D modules. There's Temple of Elemental Evil. There you go.
That seems pretty easy for green, right?
Right. No. Temple of Elemental Evil is like blue, man. Very blue.
I guess elementals are in blue.
Yeah. It's Elemental Evil. Like it's Red Blast, Blue Blast. You know.
Oh. I see what you're saying. It's not like it's not Vengevine Elemental. It's,
yeah.
It's spells Elemental. I see. Okay.
Dragons of Despair for Dragonlance, but we've already got red, right?
You've got red, yeah.
The sinister secret of Saltmarsh. There you go. It's like a greenish kind of thing. There's probably a Lizard Man one that I'm like not thinking of.
I mean, a Saltmarsh makes me think black-white, so maybe that.
Yeah. Well, Saltmarsh is a black-white card, right?
There you go.
White Plume Mountain looks like you're fighting like griffins or something, or
Griffins
like manticores.
Yeah. Griffins could be white. There you go.
Lost Cavern of Tazakalak.
Griffins they could go white or blue with Griffins. They have done they have done like drakes and shit in blue. I get that that's entirely different from a Griffin, but you get it.
Yeah. Keep on the Borderlands is another big one. But like a lot of these are just like they're red. They're red or they're black.
Are there clowns in D&D?
There are probably Harlequins, but no clowns.
Ah, gee,
I'm sure there are clowns. Like there are court jesters and stuff.
They're keeping your wallet open by giving you exactly what you want in a D&D set, and I'm over here just being like, give us clowns, Watsy.
Oh man, there are some really cool ones like Vault of the Drow, and I'll put some of these up. I'm gonna save these things and pop them up here. Vault of the Drow, and you've got like Veiled Society. Some of these are really cool.
So is there one with like cats?
Cats.
White would dabble in cats out of a cave or something to attack you or something as you're going up a mountain?
No, I don't see anything like that.
If you had a land that could turn into a Baneslayer angel.
Castle Amber, so you could have giants, and there could be white giants, right?
Giants are in every color, yeah. I mean, they're obviously primarily in red, but there's been giants in white. They did that in Lorwyn.
I mean, like, it would be like a soldier thing. Veiled Society would make kind of sense for that. Oh, there we go. Descent into the Depths of Earth. I'll save that one and pop it up on screen. That's great.
Giants are in every color. I'm thinking there was a green giant in Eldraine. There were blue giants.
I mean, Crawl Giant is a giant, right?
Yeah, there are giants in every color. Okay, so they're not confined. I don't know why I immediately jump to Lorwyn when I think of giants.
I think Tomb of Horrors is the one that, like, you know, that's almost a guarantee. Like, that's my guess is they would do a Tomb of Horrors one for sure. That would be black. That is the meat grinder. Like, that is the one that, like, it says for characters 10 to 14, but that just murders PCs.
We're going to see a bunch of like Party is coming back, right? I mean, they haven't confirmed that yet.
Yeah, I feel like Party would be in, but like
that was the whole point of that mechanic, right? Was the setup.
Yeah, Rogue. It's Rogue, Wizard, Cleric, and Fighter, right? Or Warrior.
Yes, yeah, something like that. I just remember feeling heartbroken when they were like, Party only looks at each creature for one creature type, so you can't have your 1-mana changeling and then turn to a Jason Mind Sculptor. And I was like,
here's the issue with Party as a mechanic. D&D has, well, yes, it's terrible, right? But D&D has like more than 4 classes, right? You've got Warrior, but Warrior is actually split into like 3 different things. You've got like fighters, who are just like normal guys that like are good with swords, like, you know, general weapons guys, right? Then you've got paladins, which are like the holy warrior kind of dude. You've got barbarians, which are like rage-based fighters, and then you have rangers. Remember, Dris Duerden was a ranger.
So the way they're definitely going to capture all of that is each one is just going to be in whatever coinciding color that is, but they're all going to be classified as warriors, like a warrior ranger or something. Like ranger just got added as a creature type.
Yeah.
But I don't imagine that they're gonna have too many things where you have to care about, 90 different subtypes. I mean, I guess they could. They could just go back to some kind of delirium mechanic, but I just assumed that they were going to go back to Party. And also, I really want there to be something that is competitively playable in Party. I don't know how they would do that though, because it demands that you have a wide board. But I mean, think of all of the fun deck names if your deck was based on Party.
Fellowship of the Rings, the deck.
It's time to party. Let's go party.
When it's time to party, we will party hard.
Yeah, I want to play party. I want to play party hard. I want to play Party Hard Legacy.
It's time to party hard, and party till you puke is those are all the songs with party in them from the first Andrew WK album.
Do you think Andrew WK is going to be the next person on game nights?
Oh, dude, I would love to play like EDH with Andrew WK, like Andrew WK, Weird Al, and like I don't know, like the guys from Mystery Science Theater 3000 or something ridiculous.
Dude, slide into the DMs.
Yeah, dude, that would be.
It's not too late.
That would be. That's our bonus episode for the for the Patreons.
There you go. We should Mystery Science Theater 3000, like old Pro Tour coverage.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that. I have the OG like on videotape somewhere up here. Worlds from like 1996, and that is amazing because the guys commentating definitely have no idea what Magic the Gathering is.
We 100% need to get some puppets. I'll get a Chaos Harlequin puppet.
I don't have any puppets. I was gonna be like, okay, here we go.
You don't have your crow.
Crow T robot.
Yeah, you don't have those.
No. My wife has a dragon.
What do you think? What do you think? Crow and robot and what deck?
Tom Servo and Crow T robot.
What do you think they would play? Yeah, Tom Servo is an all-star name right there.
Yeah, Tom Servo is definitely he's definitely a control player.
He's playing servos.
Or servos, obviously. Yeah. Crow is pure chaos. Like he flips coins.
So he's Storm Bro. He's Storm Crow.
Yeah, Storm Crow. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then like you have your different hosts. You've got Joel. You've got Mike. You've got Jonah, and I think that they just did I just gave like $100 to their Patreon for the next like 12 episodes, and they're doing They have a new host, a female host, so it's their first female host.
They were doing shows at the PlayStation Theater in Times Square.
Dude, they're so fun. Have you ever been to a live? If you haven't been to a live show for Mystery Science Theater 3000, you're missing out. It's a blast.
I went with my brother and we saw the show, and it was this weird, horrible movie from like the 80s or something, and everybody's roasting it. Nobody has any idea what this movie is. And it was funny. It was funny to see live. It was more so I found myself laughing because everybody else was laughing at stuff than like the actual thing. So it was just like the environment of everybody laughing together that made the thing.
Yeah, it's just super entertaining. It's also weird. Like Crow had legs, right?
Everybody had legs.
No, it's so weird. I hated it.
The weirdest thing was there was like the giant puppet that almost looked like the plant from
that's Gypsy.
Gypsy, that's it. Yeah. Gypsy was the weirdest on stage because it was just like this weird giant
snake
puppet. Yeah. that one was obviously the weird, because it was also like the most difficult one to maneuver, right?
Yeah.
So they, they did it. It was fun, but
yeah. Those are great. If you haven't, as a listener, if you haven't seen Mystery Science Theater 3000 live, you should. If they're doing it again, I don't know if who knows with the pandemic, like after all that stuff has gone on, and what their next step. And they're like they're making new episodes, so like there's a lot of production going on for that.
Yeah, they make new episodes, and the OG episodes also still hold up because it's
they're so
exactly
good.
The same show. They're roasting the movies from the same era.
If I can say to check out one, like there are two to check out. There's Mitchell. Mitchell's great, super fun, but Santa Claus, not Santa Claus versus the Martians, Santa Claus, which is a Mexican Mexican cinemas production about Santa Claus and the kids from all the different countries. But it's just insane. It's so much fun. It's like my favorite thing to watch on Thanksgiving. It's just so much fun.
And you can hear my cats in the background are also very hyped. To watch some Mystery Science Theater 3000. So
it's great internet cat content. So we should talk about your week in Legacy.
So
you on blast.
I feel like I want to be a man of the people here. I just don't know if anything I say, at least for this week, as everybody is still piecing together MH2. Man, leagues have been tough, dude. I have 05'd and 1-4'd so many leagues in a row trying to make Painter work, because I'm like, well, you got to play with one of the MH2 cards, right? Because they're all busted, and it's very clear that Legacy as we knew it before MH2 just doesn't exist anymore, and MH2 is now just all of the tier 1 decks. So if you're in Bant, you're playing Endurance and Abundant Harvest, and if you're in Delver, you're playing Ragavan and Dragon Rage Channeler and Murktide Region. And if you're anything else, you're playing Urza Saga. And I was like, well, all right, if these are the new pillars of the format, just one set comes in and just replaces everything. All right, I'll play with some Urza Saga, right? I'm a man who plays with some trinkets. I know what's going on. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to play with Urza Saga. I found these Painter decks. I really like Painter because, you get to assemble your contraption and it still feels competitive. And I was like, okay, I saw a bunch of people. They're like, check out this list. Just 5-0'd with it. Totally sweet. Urza Saga's insane. And then I play with it. Urza Saga's totally insane. The problem with it, though, is that I'm bad. I'm bad as the.
So what you're saying is you were the spirit animal for this week's intro.
It was, yeah, man. It was the last, like, my last 5 leagues, I'm just like 05 in all of them. I'm talking to like Marcus in a chat, and he's like, dude, I've been crushing with Cawblade. I'm just casting Squadron Hawks and destroying noobs, and nobody knows what's going on. Just people are force of willing my Squadron Hawks, can't beat it. And I'm like, dude, I wish that was my experience. But I'm just like getting Dark Ritual with Doomsday killed you.
Yeah, I mean that's no good.
Anyway, I think that like there's still one thing that I've been paying attention to a lot that I notice I have done more and more in recent sets being released. Like I want to say I've been doing this for like a year or so, where I'll actually just go and look at the modern meta, and I'll see what cards are excelling in modern, because so many of the new cards have just kind of replaced the paradigm of what works as like what you can do at a competitive level.
Yeah.
That when you can look for synergies that they're using in modern that may not be getting a good look in Legacy just because you're already priced into certain cards that are fundamental to Legacy, like Force Will and shit. So, but I'll go over to Modern to see what synergies and what tech is being used there to see if there's anything relevant to port over into Legacy that hasn't been explored yet, because people are still focusing on like the ground level of these new cards. And some of the stuff that I saw was as all the Asmora cards, Asmora Cookbook, those decks are exploding in Modern, right?
Asmora Martica Destina Koldakar?
And Asmora Martica Destina Koldakar to you, sir. So all of those decks in Modern, there's green-black versions and blue-black versions and in green-black, I said that already, but there's so many different versions of it right now. The red-black versions, I mean. So there's a bunch of different versions of that deck, and they all just play the Asmora Cookbook combo, Urza Saga, as you would imagine, and then they fill out the rest of the deck with like a bunch of powerful cards. But I saw an Asmora deck that was also playing Thought Monitor, and so it was kind of combining the engines of the Affinity deck that was doing well early in the season and the Asmora engine between Cookbook, and then they added in things like Ovalchase Dragster. And so Ovalchase Dragster with Cookbook, it's like you just make a food and you put it right back into your hand, so it just turns. You just get a food every turn.
Okay.
And then another card that I thought.
But what are they doing with the food? Like what? So I have no idea how this deck works. Aside from that, it makes a bunch of food. But like, what are you actually doing with this stuff?
Obviously, as Morna Martica Destina Koldakar can cash in on that food because it can just make things kill themselves.
Yep.
But the other thing that decks were exploiting, and this is where I found. This is the stuff that doesn't work in Legacy is like the very synergy based stuff because you just get dazed and delvered out.
Yeah.
But other things that they were doing in those style of decks, they were using Academy mana manufacturer or something, the 3 mana 1/3, that every time you make a food, clue, or treasure,
you make another one, right? Yeah.
You make one of each instead.
Oh, you're making one of each. Okay.
So if you make a treasure, instead it will just give you a treasure plus a food plus a clue. So you'll just make one of each for every single time that you would get one of those things. So it's just a way to spam a bunch of permanents that happen to be artifacts onto the table and do a bunch of things. And so there was one deck that I thought was really interesting. It was playing Academy Manufacturer, or whatever that card is. It's Academy something. I know it's Academy something. But then they were playing it with Lonus, the new Simic legend, that every time a non-token creature ETBs, you investigate. And so they would curve Lonus into the manufacturer, and then that would spam a bunch of artifacts because the manufacturer would come down, trigger the Lonus, you'd make 3 tokens, and then you would just continuously expand your board from there. And then the way that they paid off those tokens, aside from the fact that like you can use them to draw cards and make mana, or stabilize because you have food, is they would play it with Time Sieve and just start taking infinite turns. Because that manufacturer would just make so many tokens every turn that you could just convert it into taking infinite turns. And I was like, maybe there's something to, I mean, I don't think Lonus is necessarily good enough because it pushes you into Simic. It means that you really need to base your deck around non-token creatures, so that's very elf ball-y. And, Elves obviously doesn't need any help. But I was like, maybe there's something to this 1/3 for 3 that seems innocuous, but it's possible that if you're abusing Cookbook, that you could just you could just like elevate your Cookbook into something that is a Lotus Petal, a card, and a food every turn. And maybe there's some synergy there. So like I've been trying to expand into places like that, but then every time I try an idea like that, I just get dazed. So
yeah,
I'm trying to figure out where to go with it. So my experience in Legacy for the last couple of weeks is congratulating Marcus on crushing with Callblade, wishing I was more like him, and then going and 0-5ing with Painter. How's your experience?
Well, all I've been doing is opening packs.
You've been crushing though. I saw your polls were pretty sweet.
Yeah. So it's okay. So like quick MTG finance kind of thing. I bought one of the collector's deals. Right.
Remind me how much the collector's deal is.
It was $300.
But you
like
make that real quick when you pull like foil fetches and shit.
Well, here's the thing. Is that the cost of fetches has gone down drastically, right?
They will go back up.
They will. So like if you're playing the long game, you get these. After this goes out of print, like the price of fetches is going to go back up gradually.
You're talking to a Miracles player. I only know how to play the long game.
Also, heads up, I got rid of all this stuff. So I actually need these cards. Remember, I sold
I
like
do remember,
almost
yes.
all of my stuff. In fact,
I
I think you
remember.
got a pretty sweet deal on some Volks and some
I bought a Trop and a Tundra off of you, and then
for a song, sir.
When Zach was moving to Philly, he like was unloading a bunch of his collection to pay for a chunk of that move. And was it a chunk of the move, or were you putting a down payment or something?
The plan was to put it on a down payment for a house. That didn't happen, and we were like, let's rent first in Philly before we decide to buy something, which was definitely the better idea. Like, if you're going to move to a new city, rent first. Figure out where's good. Yeah.
So he was picking up money towards that move, and being the as more an Amarta Codestina cold card gentleman that he is, he was like, hey, Eternal Dirtles fellows, would you like first dibs at these duels? And I had not yet finished out my Trop or my Tundra set yet. I was one short of each. So I was like, yeah, I'll pick up a Trop and a Tundra for you, from you. You help me out. I help you out. Seems like it's a good deal. And then like 2 weeks afterwards.
Oh, God.
Trop and Tundra, like all the blue duels just like shot up an additional like $150 or something.
Dude, I took a bath on what I got rid of in like CE Power and duels, the whole thing. Everything skyrocketed after like to 3 times the price. The only thing I have left from my like OG like good stuff is like I have assigned Underground C, which I'll just keep. That's fine. And I have like a Plateau and a Savannah, and those are all like fine. They went up. But actually, the thing that's the craziest is I ended up with 2 Abysses, the Abyss, in Italian that nobody seemed to want. And then they went from $250. Now they're like $2,000 a piece, which is cool.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because it's $2,000 a piece, but you also need to find a buyer.
Yeah, I'm not even selling those right now. Like those are just like I'm back to a point where like now I'm building my collection up again. And so for I say all that to say this, I actually need the duels. So like buying this and getting like, I think I got like 5 or 6 duels, like
you mean
great.
fetches?
Yeah, it's fetches. Sorry. Yeah. 5 or 6 fetches. Sorry.
They haven't reprinted duels yet.
No. Yeah. One day we hope. But yeah, like, and like foil duels, foil fetches and stuff. That's cool.
You know what we really need with all these new frames? They gave us old border frames in these new fetches, but you know what we really need? We need fetches with the swirly text box the same way that the duels have.
Yes.
Give us swirly text box.
That would be sick.
Fetches.
Give us that real old school
give us
look.
What we want.
But yeah, so I mean,
it's like moving the goalposts every time they give us what we want.
At the end of the day, like I think that if you want cards, certainly the collector's thing is cool. And I think I got like value, like even value. Like at one point, people were paying $400 for those things, and now they're like $300. They'll probably drop even further in the coming weeks. And if they go to $250, I'll probably buy one more, just for whatever. And then I also bought a set booster. And so this is the thing: if you're like me, where you're not paying constant attention to the products that they're putting out. Like I was like, what the heck is the difference between a booster box, a set booster, and a collector's booster? Which is why I bought a collector's booster and a set booster to see what the difference was. And the set booster is like the same. You're getting like in some packs, I was getting 4 rares. Like it's wild. So like the value is in set and collector's edition stuff. Because the collector's edition, you get like a bunch of rares. Like I got like, I don't know, some like 30 rares in the collector's things, 12 packs. I
mean, it is nice that they can just arbitrarily choose what they want to put in each thing because they're literally printing paper.
Yeah. So I don't know. I say all that to say this, like it's definitely a rich man's game. I'm not a rich man by any stretch of the imagination. I just had a little bit of extra cash that like, I was like, I'm going to treat myself. It was my birthday last month. I'm going to put it towards like the next, master style set that they put out. I feel like I got my value out of that stuff, and I'll get rid of the stuff that I don't want, and break even ish, I suppose. But as far as like what I've been doing with Magic in the last few days is just theory crafting. Like I'm trying to decide what I want to play off of mana traders, like, figuring out that and then starting to grind it down on Moto again. And it's tough because like there's just so many cool things to do. I'd like to try like a Grixis style like control deck with Gaia Drone, but like I feel like maybe it's not the time. It's not the time to be getting destroyed by Rug Delver and stuff. You can't play that grinder game right now, right?
It's so Gaia Drone, aside from being a 4-mana walker and not brainstorming, and also not winning immediately on the spot, and also not invalidating every axis of play that your opponent has the way Oko did.
Yeah.
So aside from those problems, it also doesn't really help that Delver has at least 12 run drops that hit really hard, and the other playable fair deck right now has a 3/4 flash beater that doesn't really care about your Gaia drones.
And you're not playing green. So like, if you want to play a control deck, why are you playing Uro?
Green
right?
has all of the good. It's pretty much like green has all of the action when it comes to a good control deck now between Ice Fang and Uro and Endurance. And then you are priced into Swords to Plowshares because that's the best removal spell ever. Prismatic Ending is the best removal spell other than Swords to Plowshares ever printed. And then you're just playing blue for like your cantrip suite. So like your power is coming from the green cards. Your stability is coming from the green cards and the white cards, and then you're just trying to piece them together with the blue cards. That's pretty much where it's at. So it's like to not be playing green, you're just handicapping yourself.
Yeah, that's sort of an issue for like, so like even like Endurance obviously is a thing, and that's good because it's turn 0 interaction with Reanimator decks, which could be powerful. But I think that there's just so much turn 0 interaction with them right now, especially because so many people are playing Endurance. And if they're not playing Endurance, they're obviously playing Surgical Extraction. And then like there's Dothy Voidwalker exists. And then there's Invec Sanctifier Invec or whatever. So there's a lot of graveyard hate right now for those sort of strategies. I just feel like if I were to choose a deck to play right now, it would be Infect as like, as a dark horse deck. Infect, just because I don't feel like I feel like there's not enough removal in the turns that you're trying to do the thing that like are going to stop you, right? Rug Delver plays Daze is technically removal and Bolt, right? They're not really.
Daze is technically not removal, but I know what you mean.
Like it's going to stop you from playing your guy.
You know what you need to. You know what you need to play an Infect. Ragavan.
Yeah, I mean you could, right? No, when we were playing, I was playing what's it called for a hot minute. Renin 6 in the board.
Yeah, Renin 6 picking up your Ink Mob Nexuses is pretty hot.
Yeah.
Here's a quick question for you before you tell me how you would build Infect right now, because I'm actually curious because I am looking for literally anything that can get me a win on the board.
Yeah.
Regular Ragavans right now at the time of this recording are listed at $65. The borderless version is listed at $80 a piece. Obviously very expensive. What is the point where you buy the dip? Where is the mark where it dips to a certain point and you buy in?
So I have no Ragavans right now, and I've been asking myself this question, right? I think if I can get Ragavans for $40,
so 40 is your threshold.
I pop off 160 and just get them, right? This is dangerous though. It's only half dangerous. If they do ban this card, because it's ubiquitous everywhere, like every deck that has red mana is playing this card, right? Like even some decks that shouldn't be playing it are playing it. For example, Sneak and Show is playing it. Like,
that one mana ramp your mana is really good.
Yeah. So look, and to say shouldn't be playing it, you just wouldn't traditionally think a 2/1 beater would be in a combo deck, but like it's lending itself to that deck just fine. So I don't know. Like I think that the danger is that they could ban it, right? But you still have it in Modern, which keeps the price up. Like even if they ban it in Legacy, it's not going to make the price drop that much. after they ban it, and that was the case with Ren and 6. And I got rid of my Rens right after they banned it, and they didn't drop that much in price. And I think Ren's price has only gone up just a little bit.
Ren is still there, yeah.
I'm still upset that we didn't see like a Ren in this. Like, I want more story, man. That guy's my boy.
Yeah, dude. You got. I mean, you
Ren
got
7, Ren 8.
You got Grist. I've lost many a games to Grist. Like they did do justice to that Planeswalker. It's so I was looking up Dakin, the Planeswalker Dakin. That card's going for $5.
Yep, I have one somewhere.
That I get that the card has seen no play so far, but it's just so wild. $5.
Is that your MTG Finance windmill slam for the show?
Dude, do you know like a Pirate Jace, the 3-mana Jace was more expensive right after that set was released than Dakin is.
Pirate Jace. Yeah, I mean that might be the card.
Pirate Jace doesn't do anything.
So I was talking about this with some friends, and we were talking about like what is the card, right? Every set has a card that like everybody undervalues, and then like a couple months later, that's a $40 card. So it was Hexproof Drinker or Hex Drinker, in MH1. That card, I think I got 4 of them for like $7, like a piece.
Right.
I picked them up, and I still haven't ever played with them because by the time things were happening, people hadn't even decided. Well, people weren't even deciding that they're going to put that card in there. There was a lot of like, oh, I don't think it's good enough. Like it honestly, like the card's great, but I think that maybe Dakin will be the card like this time around, or there was like 1 or 2 other cards that I was looking at that I was like, nah, this could be the one. But there's going to be a card in the set that everyone doesn't realize is amazing, and it's probably going for like $6 right now. Let me look real fast. I'll tell you which one it is.
I think that the reason that Dakin hasn't found a home at all yet is because if you're playing the control deck in the format, you have to be in green. There's just too many draws to green. So being in Esper doesn't really pay off.
Yeah. So I think
the advantages of what you get in black versus green when you're trying to be a control deck, you're just like, do you want life gain? Green does it better. Do you want threats? Green does it better. Do you want disruption? Green does it better.
I think Gaia Drone is cheaper, by the way, and is definitely a card that if we see green drop off a touch, or we get some tools to make Grixis good again, which it won't take a ton, like over the last 2 years, the power shift in colors has just been so wild.
Well, green has gotten the part of the color pie that's competitive.
Yeah.
Like they're getting the Bane Drifters and the cheaper Disruption and the cantrips, right? Like They just got Abundant Harvest. So they've pushed green into the areas that like blue used to be the best at. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not mad. I'm just mad that like it happened after I sold all my duels.
So I want to take a quick beat. So 40 is your thing for Ragavan. I want to just talk quickly about the inclusion of Ragavan in decks that otherwise it doesn't seem to make sense in from historical perspective, like putting Ragavan in Show and Tell. And normally the idea behind that is you don't put cards in your deck that would otherwise leave your opponent's removal in game 1 dead, right? So you don't, in Show and Tell, there's no other targets for like their Swords to Plowshares or their Lightning Bolts other than this Ragavan if you put it in your deck.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, historically that used to be true, right? You're not putting Tarmogoyf in your Show and Tell deck because it's out of plan. It doesn't help your deck do what it wants to do, and it's just going to trade with the removal that you otherwise would blank in game 1s.
Yeah.
But have the threats gotten powerful enough that trade isn't even worth it anymore? So like putting Ragavan in your deck, the trade-off is it trades for removal, which buys you a turn, right? Because they have to spend their mana equally trading for your mana, and you're looking to just get through the first couple of turns without getting like wasted or something to then kill them. And if it doesn't if they just don't happen to have the removal, then you're just paid off so insanely that the whole heuristic of, don't put creatures in your deck because you want to be able to get, virtual card advantage by blanking the removal just doesn't, like that is a thing of the past. What do you think?
Man, I don't know, man. Like, so I just thinking on what you were saying at the beginning of that, with like decks that traditionally shouldn't play Ragavan, but do, right?
Because Ragavan was also in Miracles.
Yeah, well, this is what I was thinking. Is like even in Infect, it's just fine. Like if I hit my opponent's removal spell, like that's that's a removal spell he didn't get, right?
Do you remember you were playing Dreadhorde Arcanist in Infect, right?
For like a day, I didn't like
Before
it at
got
all.
banned.
No, I didn't. I just didn't like. I still not a giant. Well, here's the problem with it. In fact, is that Invigorate costs 3.
Right.
It's like it doesn't like to make it work, and then you gotta like it's just not worth it. But I think where Ragavan is great is that like getting that extra mana is obviously great because then you can do other shenanigans. But if you hit any relevant card in Infect, it's just great. Like, oh, I'll throw another threat down. Like, you've got to kill my Ragavan, obviously, but then you really want to save that removal for my Infect creature. So, like, what are you going to do? Like it creates pressure where there wasn't pressure before. And I think that's the thing about that card is like, yeah, do you want to take out side out your removal for counter spells against show and tell? You do normally, but not if they slam a Ragavan on turn 1. Especially if they did in the first game, you don't even know what to do.
So, I mean, tell me if I'm hearing you correctly. So you're in agreement with me on the idea that the paradigm of like virtual card advantage by blanking your opponent's removal just doesn't exist anymore, or is on its way out because the threats are so powerful now.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get like the only card you get mana advantage. You don't get card advantage. You get mana advantage for killing your opponent's guy, right? Your opponent plays Tarmogoyf, you kill it with Fatal Push. You've gained a mana, right? Like that actually used to matter at one point. Now like the games are different. Like you're either going long because you're a Uro deck, or you're stalling your opponent out with like Rug Delver or whatnot, or you're comboing them. And it's just like the threshold of disruption that you're paying for removal versus what you're getting off of like your opponent tapping out for a turn, in a world that's full of days as well. I don't know.
Okay. Is this idea a pipe dream of Phil just trying to be too cute? Or is this a reasonable trajectory for where Ragavan decks are going to shift to continue to power up their Ragavan? So I have found, it seems, that you are either in the camp that I am in, which is Ragavan is a stupid busted and it's great everywhere. And then there's the other camp of it's very good against specifically these decks, and none of those decks have creatures in them. But the second they put a blocker in the way, your Ragavan's not going to do anything. And to that, I say, it's time for the Royal Scions to make their legacy entrance. Because giving your Ragavans +2/+0 trample and first strike is quite good at making
Royal
sure you
Scions.
continuously deal combat damage to your opponents with your Ragavan.
I don't know. I mean, that's tough, man. That card is.
That card was in the same set as Oko.
Yeah. And they
the
can
stats
shoot,
on it are insane.
Right? It's a 3 mana 4 loyalty planeswalker. It's been so long. Let's put it up.
Let's put it up. Put it up. I will look it up right now to make sure that we have the correct. So I played when Pioneer was a thing.
I got it.
Right. I played a bunch of Arclight Phoenix because who doesn't want to cast Treasure Cruise, right? But I was playing a much more controlling. I wasn't playing like the everything discards and it's all madness. I was playing a much more controlling version with like a bunch of Brazen Borrowers, and I was on 4 Royal Scions in my Arclight deck, and it was amazing because Arclight it was the perfect bridge between like your fast starts of wanting to get your Arclight down and fueling your Treasure Cruises. It was delightful. I loved playing with the card. So
all right, so Royal Scions is 1 a blue and a red, 5 loyalty, +1 is loot, draw and discard. +1 is the trample, first strike, and +2. And then the -8 is draw 4 cards, and then you hit somebody with the damage equal number of cards in your hand.
So it's a lethal ultimate. right? Nobody's recovering from that.
Probably. I mean, you shouldn't. If I draw 4 cards and do 4 damage to you, that game's still probably very over.
If you draw, what that functionally means is the -8.
You didn't get rid of my guy, right?
You draw 4
for
cards,
that many turns.
you either draw 4 cards, kill their best threat, or you kill them, right?
Yeah.
So the ultimate is just game ending. But I feel like now that it's a 3-mana walker, it's not competing with the Oko space.
Sure.
And I always knew that the way to make this card work was you have to be able to cash in on the +2/+0 trample first strike, because 3 mana to loot, you just have Dak, and Dak does it better.
I mean, right. You're not incorrect, and especially if you have your turn 1 was play the guy and then you got in once, like you're gonna play these guys on turn 2 and still have a mana if you get in to do something else with.
And now it makes it so if they put a blocker in the way, the Scions is functionally removes that blocker on you if you become your Ragavan.
I'm sorry, I screwed up that. You're going to play this on turn 2 if you get in with Ragavan.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so boom, turn 2, got it. And then the next turn, like your opponent's in trouble because you're either going to have selection to get rid of his blocker, or you're just going to make it a 4/1 trampler.
So
with first strike.
Like usually what happens is once Delver has adopted its best form, right? Like it is once a new set comes out, everything shuffles around. Delver assumes its position as the best deck, like it has for the last 15 years after every single thing has happened.
Of course.
That the way that then the Delver decks have to start building to beat each other. And usually the way they do that is you just go slightly bigger, right? So it's like when the Delver deck started playing some number of Uros to like beat up on the mirror, then they moved into Clothis to like beat up on the mirror. And they just went more mid-rangey to beat up on the lower to the ground versions of themselves. And then they were just better, right? You have the same tools, except I have more power.
I mean, do you guys all remember when I was like, let's play Hooting Mandrills because you can't Abrupt Decay it, and also it tramples over all of your opponent's creatures. If you're Delver, it's like the best part of the mirror.
And I think I don't. I mean, Royal Scion still dies to Pyroblast him and that. But when the conversations of like, I think you need to be playing more removal in your Ragavan deck, or you need to be fighting over the creatures a lot more often. I think the Royal Scions might do work in that it's another potentially game-ending threat that you can get on the cheap, and also can just invalidate creatures because +2/+0, like. If your Ragavan's coming in as a 4-power first striker, you're going to need to put a lot of power in front of it to survive that, so it will trade.
Not to mention, like let's play this game. Your opponent kills your first Ragavan, right? You end up getting the Scions down on turn 3. Turn 4, you dash in Ragavan. You give it the +4/+0. Bam! You drew a card. You could even then recast Ragavan the next turn.
Turn.
Well, it'll bounce back to your hand at the end of turn or at the end of combat. How's dash work?
You're right, it's end of turn.
Yeah. But or you could just cast another Ragavan after that. Like you're getting that value. So like, even if you have to kill your own guy, you just got another card. You got extra mana. Like I don't know, man. I think that you might have meat here with this Royal Scions.
It's something that I want to try. I mean, it's one of those things where I don't enjoy playing Delver style decks, but I think like the people who have moved away from Ragavan because they're like, oh, I don't like that it's swingy in the matchups. Mm-hmm. That I get that more often than not. The correct answer is if something doesn't do it on its own, don't try trying to fix the thing or fix the problem that you have if it takes a lot of work to do so, as opposed to just moving into an avenue where everything just does it by itself. A la if we cut Ragavan and then all of our threats have flying, then we never have to worry about creatures on the ground. But I think that Ragavan is powerful enough, particularly on your turn 1 starts, that like the power discrepancy is worth keeping. And so I think the move of experimenting with Scions is the only good idea I've had in the last 25 years.
I mean, perhaps.
So also, Doomsday's unbeatable. It's tier 0. If you're not playing that deck, you probably should be, because can't beat it.
You heard it here. Not first, but you heard it here.
You heard it here.
You heard it here.
That's Eternal Dirtles. You heard it here.
Yep. Well, I don't know. I think that's a good place to stop for now. It's a transition period. We're having a rebuilding year, and I think
my understanding, at least from my experience playing a bunch of Moto, it seems like everybody has like settled into what are the best cards, and now people are like touring around and
the proper build, right?
Refining of decks. We're no longer in the trying decks. We're in the refining stages before we get the next set to roll in. So as those things start to refine and you start to see a more stable, like here's what stock versions of lists look like, then the ideas of something like Royal Scions where you could target something specifically can be a strong power play to like surprise somebody by. So that's where I think it's at. But I agree. I think it's a good spot to wrap it up for now. Let us know if you guys have thought of anything else along the lines of Royal Scions. I still don't know what I'm going to play for the Legacy Pit Open in September. I thought I was going to play Painter, but I've been struggling making that deck happen, or like getting any amount of reasonable win rate. So throw ideas to us because I'm looking for them. But until then, and that's more under Monaco Dice King, a cold card to use, sir.
Right back at you. Have a good one, everybody.